Hey guys, I'm the Coaster Keat, and what's that behind you? Some sort of weird, shadowy figure, and it's getting closer and closer and closer and... Okay. I know that pretty much none of you have looked behind you or even thought that there might be something behind you, because bottom line is, you aren't gullible. But the thing is, this trick, unfortunately, works way, and I mean way, too well for me. I watch a ton of YouTubers who like to pull this off, not naming any names, but Markiplier, in some of his Scary Games videos, decided to recently pull this trick, and although in my brain I knew 1,000,000% that there was 0% chance of anything being behind me, because 1, he's not saying that in real time, and 2, I'm in a frickin' dorm room, but I still looked behind me. But why? Like, there's no reasonable reason for me to do this, and I know there's no reasonable reason for me to do this. I'm not stupid, I'm just gullible. And I've been gullible for a very, very long time. Back when I was a kid, it wasn't very hard to convince me of things. If you told me magic was real, I believed magic was real. For instance, walking home from a hockey game with my dad one day, I remember him telling me the old wish upon a star thing. Or I remembered that from, all of the Disney songs and references to it. So I was like, hey, is it true that you can wish upon a star and your wish comes true? And my dad says something along the lines of, oh yeah, you just gotta keep it within a sentence. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then I wished a bunch of things, and one of them specifically was that human flight would be possible without mechanical intervention. And this is a very, very, very specific wish. Why? Because it needs magic. Because, obviously humans can fly with hang gliders, they can fly with airplanes, they can fly if you bring them up into space with the spaceship. It's the without technological intervention thing that's problematic, and I didn't phrase it exactly that way as a little kid because I'm not sure I knew what intervention means when I believed all of this. But anyway, I wished for that, and I wished for 2 other very important things. I wished for unicorns, and I wished for Pokemon to be real. And that was my wish, all in one sentence, and that was it. And I believed it so badly, or I wanted to. But part of the reason that I put the, flying thing in there was to prove to myself that it was real or that it was fake. Because truly, if the magic is real, it could make it happen somehow. But if it was fake, it wouldn't. Unfortunately, that wish, that very carefully constructed wish, never really got to see any use because that night, unfortunately, there weren't any shooting stars, and since then, I haven't, seen one quickly enough to be able and make my wish. So, ultimately, I've never gone in to test the magic of the thing. But it wasn't just shooting stars or magic. Well, it was magic, all of the typical tricks, here's a cage, here's a tiger, and put a cover over it, and look, it's a grown woman, where the heck did that come from? All that sort of thing. I believed in that so much, and for this, I blame my parents because they brought me to a ton of magic shows as a kid. And also, when I was a kid, I was the best little volunteer you've ever seen. Just imagine this little young, bright-eyed blonde girl jumping up and down in her seat with her hand raised, being like, yes, please pick me. And I was picked for so many magic shows. That's probably the number one thing I've been picked for other than answering random questions in class was magic shows. And it was just so fun to be able to go up there. I remember this one specific trick where the magician slowly gave me the 2 ends of this tablecloth, and then he lifted the other end and the table came up with it. And there was this whole thing about, like, I had to blow into the ashes of someone, and that's what allowed the, like, ghost and the presence to come into it and to allow the table to float. And then once it started floating, then we just kind of danced around the stage, and it was just really, really cool and really, really magical. And it makes sense to some extent, right? For a little kid to believe in magic shows, there's a reason why we do magic shows for little kids. It's to keep that little, aura of mysticism in the world. But the thing is, it didn't have to be a professional for this to work. It could be literally anybody. And so, of course, my dad, who's very good at taking advantage of the little weird things that I do, one day decided that he was going to show me a magic trick. And I, of course, was super excited because I knew there were these powerful magicians out there, but I never knew my dad was a powerful magician. And so he takes one of my stuffed animals, and he takes a blanket, and he's like, all right, I'm going to take this, and I'm going to make him disappear. And I'm like, okay, but he has to come back. And he's like, all right, he'll come back. So all I need you to do is spin around. So I'm just going to put it under here, and then I'm going to snap my fingers as you spin around, and then when you look again, it's going to be gone. And I was like, okay, that sounds great. And so, of course, we go ahead, and he puts it down on the ground with the blanket over it, and he goes, all right, on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, and I spin around, and I come back around, and as the snap fades into the distance, I see the blanket, but there's no bump where the stuffed animal was. It's gone. Vanished into thin air. And then I go around and I look frantically around and I'm like, where'd he go? Because obviously, it must have been put somewhere if this wasn't real magic, but I couldn't find it anywhere. I scoured the house. And then I come back and I'm like, Dad, can you please bring him back? I really miss him. And your dad was like, oh, okay, I guess we can bring him back. And he went ahead and he set the blanket down again, and he's like, all right, you gotta do the spin again, right as I snapped, just like you did last time. And then he went 3, 2, 1, and snapped, and I spun, and there it was, right there, and I was so happy to see my stuffed animal just lying on top of the blanket, safe and sound and happy, and it was just amazing. I was so happy. The other things I believed in were, of course, Santa Claus and, any stories like that. But one interesting thing was that I could convince myself of things. I wasn't just gullible from other people. I was gullible from myself and also from just things that I heard and read. So I remember reading somewhere that if you press your hands up against the side of a wall or something, then like really hard, and then you let go, then they'll raise above your head. And I did it, and my arms raised above my head without me doing anything. It was incredible. I couldn't believe it. And then years and years later, I'm reading an article about this strange psychological phenomenon where all of those people who are extremely gullible can find themselves falling into this weird psychological trick where they push their hands against a wall and then they'll subconsciously raise their arms up. And so I was even tricked by that. I also, tricked myself. I tricked myself once I learned that the earth is, rotating, that whenever I got myself dizzy, and you know how the world kind of spins around for a while when you get dizzy? Yeah, I convinced myself that that was the earth's rotation, and that the only way that you could ever see where the earth was at a current time or where you were on the earth was by spinning around and then seeing where everything lay. So if you felt like really pushed into the ground when you came down, that meant that you were currently at the top of the earth. If you felt really light when you fell down, then that meant you were at the bottom of the earth and you're just being held on by gravity. It makes so much sense, right? There's no holes in that logic whatsoever until, you consider the whole gravity thing and all of that. But it was a good theory in theory. Anyways, this gullibility issue overall does not impact my life severely in any ways. I can get along pretty fine on my own, and I do have enough common sense to where I'm not going to be doing anything stupid because of it. But it does mean that if you ever walk up to me and say, "Hey, what's that on your shirt?" then odds are I'm probably not going to realize that you're tricking me, and I'm going to let you go ahead and flick me in the nose or do whatever the heck you're going to do. So don't do that. Anyways, I've been the Coaster Keat, and I hope that you all soar high and enjoy your ride of life. Bye!